London, November 1935. The General Post. Office places an order that will reshape the British landscape for the next century. 60,000 red telephone boxes. Each one to be cast from iron. Each one to weigh 3/4 of a ton. The man responsible for their design stands in his office overlooking the Thames, holding a single sheet of drawing paper. Giles Gilbert Scott is 55 years old. He designed Liverpool Cathedral. He designed Battersea Power Station. He has built monuments that will stand for centuries. Now the GPO wants him to design something else entirely. Something small. Something functional. Something that will be replicated 60,000 times across Britain. He sets the paper down. The specification is precise. The kiosk must house a telephone. It must protect the caller from weather. It must be recognizable from a distance. It must represent Britain. And it must do all of this while being cheap enough to mass produce on a scale never attempted. Before Scott picks up his pencil. The problem is not complexity. The problem is simplicity. How do you design something that will work in Cornwall and Cumbria, in Edinburgh and Exeter, in city centers and village greens? How do you create a single form that belongs everywhere? The GPO's previous attempt sits outside his window. The K2 kiosk, introduced in 1926. Red, domed, classical. It works well enough in London. But Britain is not just London. The K2 looks wrong in rural settings. Too grand. Too imperial. Village councils have rejected it. Local authorities want something else. The post office needs a new design. They need it fast. And they need it to work in every corner of the kingdom. Scott studies the K2's flaws. The dome is expensive to cast. The proportions are wrong for small communities. The panels are difficult to maintain. The floor gets waterlogged in rain. The whole structure feels like it was designed for ceremony rather than use. Start sketching. The first principle. Reduce the dome. The K2's curved top requires multiple molds and complex casting. Scott flattens it. Not entirely, the crown remains, but simplified. A shallow dome. Elegant but economical. The symbolic gesture of royalty without the manufacturing nightmare. Second principle. Adjust the proportions. The K2 stands too tall, too narrow. It looks like a sentry box for guardsmen. Scott widens his design. Squatter, more grounded. The height drops from 9 feet to 8 feet 3 inches. The width increases. The shape becomes more compact, more human in scale. A shelter, not a monument. Third principle. The panels. The K2 uses small panes of glass that rattle in wind and crack in frost. Scott enlarges them. Fewer pieces mean fewer joints, less maintenance, better weather resistance. The glass wraps around 3 sides now, providing visibility while maintaining privacy. You can see someone's inside without watching them dial. Fourth principle. Ventilation. The K2 reeks in summer. No airflow. Scott adds perforations in the crown. Small holes arranged in circular patterns. They let heat escape without letting rain in. The pattern becomes decorative. Function creates form. He works through January, February, March. The GPO wants the final design by spring. They want to begin casting by summer. They want the first kiosks installed before year's end. 60,000 units. The largest rollout of standardized street furniture Britain has ever attempted. Scott refines the details. The door must swing easily, but close firmly. He specifies a self-closing mechanism. The handle must work with gloved hands in winter. He enlarges it. The floor must drain. He slopes it slightly, adds drainage holes. The light must illuminate the dial without blinding the caller. He positions it at the top, angled downward. Every decision compounds. The kiosk must be cast in sections. The base, the walls, the crown, each piece requires its own mold, but they must fit together precisely. A tolerance of millimeters. Cast iron shrinks as it cools. Scott calculates the shrinkage. He adjusts the mold dimensions. The sections must align perfectly when bolted together. 60,000 times. April 1935. The final drawings go to the GPO. They approve them in 2 weeks. The specifications go to foundries. The Cairn Company in Scotland wins the contract. They've been casting iron since 1759. They made cannons for the Royal Navy. They made the Cairn fireplace, the Cairn bathtub. Now they'll make telephone boxes. The foundry workers study the patterns. Each kiosk requires 300 kilograms of molten iron. The temperature must reach 1,370 degrees Celsius. The pour must be smooth, continuous, no air bubbles. A single bubble becomes a crack. A crack becomes structural failure. 750 kilograms cannot fail. The first test casting happens in June. They pour the base. The iron flows into the sand mold like mercury, filling every corner, every detail. They wait for it to cool. 6 hours. The mold breaks away. The base emerges. Perfect. Every bolt hole aligned. Every drainage channel clear. Every measurement within tolerance. They cast the walls. 4 panels, each identical. The glass apertures come out clean. The ventilation holes are circular and uniform. The mounting points line up. They cast the crown. The shallow dome curves exactly as Scott designed. The perforations form perfect circles. The sections fit together. Assembly takes 4 men 2 hours. They bolt the pieces together on the foundry floor. The kiosk stands complete. They test the door. It swings open, hangs at 90 degrees, closes with a satisfying click. They test the light fitting. It sits flush with the crown. They check the drainage. Water runs off the sloped floor and out through the holes. The GPO inspector arrives from London. He walks around the kiosk 3 times. He opens the door, closes it, opens it again. He checks the interior dimensions with a tape measure. He examines the ventilation. He reads the specification sheet. He signs the approval form. Production begins in August. The Cairn foundry runs 2 shifts, day and night. Furnaces burning constantly. Iron melting, pouring, cooling. The molds are reusable, but they wear down. New patterns must be cut every 500 castings. The foundry works through autumn, through winter, into 1936. The kiosks emerge from the molds at a rate of 50 per week. They're loaded onto railway wagons. They travel to every corner of Britain. The first K6 is installed in London on November 3, 1935. Fleet Street. The location is deliberate. Newspapers will photograph it. Journalists will use it. The publicity matters. The GPO wants people to see this as progress. Modern Britain. Modern communications. A telephone in every community. The installation team works fast. They've done this before with the K2, but the K6 is different. Heavier, more substantial. The base must be set in concrete. They dig the foundation, mix the cement, lower the base into position, level it precisely. The whole kiosk will tilt if the base is off by even a degree. They bolt the wall sections to the base. Each panel weighs 70 kilograms. 4 men lift it into place. They align the bolt holes, thread the bolts through, tighten them with wrenches. The panels don't just sit on the base, they interlock with each other. The seams where they meet are weatherproofed with lead caulking. No gaps, no drafts. The crown goes on last. It's the lightest section, but the trickiest to position. It must sit perfectly level so the door closes properly. They lower it with ropes, align it, bolt it down. The door is hung on heavy-duty hinges. It swings open, closes, opens. The self-closing mechanism is adjusted. Too tight and it slams. Too loose and it won't shut. They find the balance. The telephone engineer arrives. He runs the cable from the underground conduit up through the hollow base. He mounts the telephone on the interior wall. A GPO model, black bakelite. He connects the wires, tests the line, picks up the handset, gets a dial tone, dials the exchange. The connection is clear. They paint it red. Post office red. Vermilion. The color is symbolic. British pillar boxes have been red since 1874. The red telephone box extends that language. Communication in red. Whether you're posting a letter or making a call, the color tells you this is official. This is national infrastructure. The second kiosk goes to Edinburgh. The third to Cardiff. The fourth to Manchester. The GPO prioritizes cities first. Urban centers need them most. But the real test will be rural Britain. Villages, market towns. Places where the K2 looked absurd. December 1935. AK-6 arrives in Chipping Campden, Gloucestershire. Cotswold stone buildings. Narrow streets. Medieval market hall. The villagers gather to watch the installation. They're skeptical. They rejected the K2. $2,000, they said. Doesn't fit. This new design, though. Lower, broader. The red is bright, but not garish. The proportions work. The kiosk doesn't dominate the street. It belongs there. The phone goes live. The first call is made by the village postmaster. He dials his sister in Stratford-upon-Avon. The line connects. They talk for 3 minutes. He hangs up, smiles. The village approves. January 1936. The GPO reports 2,500 K6 kiosks installed. The complaints have stopped. No local councils rejecting the design. No aesthetic objections. The K6 works where the K2 failed. It's adaptable, generic enough to fit anywhere, distinctive enough to be recognized instantly. The weight is deliberate. 750 kilograms is excessive for a phone booth. But Scott knows something that critics don't. Weight equals permanence. Weight equals vandal resistance. Weight equals stability in wind and storm. The K6 won't blow over, won't be pushed over, won't be stolen. It's too heavy to move without equipment. The iron is deliberate. Cast iron is brittle. It fractures under impact. But it doesn't dent. It doesn't rust the way steel rusts. It endures. Scott knows this. His Liverpool cathedral is faced with the same sandstone that's been quarried for 800 years. His Battersea power station uses brick that will last 500 years. The K6 uses iron that will last just as long. The color is deliberate. Red shows through fog. Red stands out in rain. Red is visible in the dusk of a winter afternoon. A driver lost on a country road sees the red kiosk from 200 yards away. It's not just decoration. It's wayfinding. It's safety. By June 1936, 5,000 kiosks are installed. The GPO is pleased. The public is pleased. The complaints they anticipated never materialized. The K6 becomes invisible in the best possible way. It's there when you need it. It doesn't demand attention when you don't. But the real test comes in 1939, September. Britain goes to war. The GPO becomes strategic infrastructure. Every telephone matters. Every connection counts. The K6 kiosks become lifelines. Air raid wardens use them to call in attacks. Civil defense coordinators use them to mobilize rescue teams. Separated families use them to confirm who's alive. The kiosks are targeted. German bombers hit London. Incendiaries fall on Manchester. High explosives strike Liverpool. The telephone network takes damage. Cables are cut. Exchanges are destroyed. But the K6 kiosks themselves survive. The cast iron doesn't burn. It absorbs blast pressure without shattering. A kiosk in Coventry takes shrapnel from a 500-pound bomb that lands 30 feet away. The glass is gone. The door is twisted. But the structure stands. The phone still works. The GPO repairs them. New glass. Straightened doors. Fresh paint. The kiosks go back into service. By 1940, 7,000 K6 South are operational in cities. They become symbols. British resilience cast in iron. You can bomb the buildings around them. You can crater the streets. But the red telephone box remains. The war also proves the design's flexibility. Some kiosks are converted to air raid sirens. The phone is removed, a speaker installed. Others become first aid posts. The interior is just large enough for a medical kit and a folding stretcher. The GPO allows it. Whatever helps the war effort. The war ends. Britain begins reconstruction. The telephone network expands rapidly. The GPO orders more K6 kiosks. Another 10,000. Then 20,000. Then 30,000. By 1950, 45,000 K6 South stand across Britain. By 1960, the number reaches 55,000. They're everywhere now. City centers. Suburban streets. Rural crossroads. Train stations. Airports. Hospital entrances. University campuses. Industrial estates. Every location where someone might need to make a call. The maintenance schedule is rigorous. Each kiosk is inspected quarterly. The door hinges are oiled. The glass is cleaned. The floor is swept. The phone is tested. The paint is touched up. Vermilion red. Always the same shade. The GPO has strict color standards. They can't have faded kiosks. The red must be consistent, recognizable. But by 1968, attitudes are changing. The GPO looks at modernization. The K6 is 33 years old. Surely it's time for a replacement. They commission a new design. The K7, lighter, cheaper, made from fiberglass. No casting required. It can be molded in a factory and shipped complete. The K7 is tested in 1972. It's installed in several trial locations. The feedback is immediate and negative. It feels cheap. The fiberglass creaks in wind. The door doesn't close properly. It gets hot in summer, freezing in winter. The material doesn't age well. After 2 years, the fiberglass is cracking. The color is fading. The structure feels temporary. The GPO abandons the K7 in 1974. They try again with the K8. Aluminum this. Time. Modern. Lightweight. Sleek. It's installed in 1976. The problems are different, but equally severe. The aluminum dents. Vandals kick it. The panels buckle. The structure doesn't have the presence of the K6. It looks like a bus shelter, not a telephone box. The K8 fails by 1980. The GPO is absorbed into British Telecom. BT inherits 60,000 K6 kiosks. They're 45 years old now. By all logic, they should be obsolete. But they're not. They work. They endure. They're part of the landscape. BT tries one more time. The KX100, introduced in 1985. Modular design. Easy maintenance. Contemporary aesthetics. It looks nothing like the K6. glass and steel, minimalist. It's installed in high-traffic areas. The response is hostile. The public doesn't want contemporary aesthetics. They want the red telephone box. They want Scott's design. They want the K6 dot by 1986. BT accepts reality. The K6 is permanent. They stop trying to replace it. Instead, they maintain it. 60,000 kiosks. 51 years old. Still working. Still red. Still standing. The mobile phone arrives in the 1990s. The analysts predict the end of public telephones. Why use a kiosk when you have a phone in your pocket? The usage numbers decline. BT considers removing the K6 South. The public outcry is immediate. The kiosks aren't just phones anymore. They're heritage. They're architecture. They're British conservation groups mobilize. English Heritage lists thousands of K6 kiosks as protected structures. You cannot remove them. You cannot alter them. They're as protected as cathedrals. A telephone box designed in 1935 achieves architectural significance. Some are converted. Libraries, defibrillator stations, art galleries. The phone is removed, but the structure remains. The red box endures. 750 kilograms of cast iron, still there, still useful, still distinctly British. Today, 11,000 K6 kiosks remain in service. 89 years after Giles Gilbert Scott drew the first sketch, they've outlasted the K7, the K8, the KX100. They've outlasted every replacement because they were never designed to be temporary. They were designed to last. Scott understood permanence, not as a concept, as a material reality. Cast iron, 750 kilograms, 3/4 of a ton. You cannot replace what refuses to break. The K6 succeeded because it solved the problem no one knew existed. The problem wasn't how to house a telephone. It was how to create infrastructure that becomes invisible through familiarity, while remaining visible when needed. The K6 is both landmark and background, monument and utility, British and universal. 60,000 phone boxes cast from iron, the 750 kilograms kiosk that outlasted every replacement. Not through superior technology, through superior design, through an architect who understood that the best solutions are the ones that don't need to be replaced.